All right, welcome to the Superlative Podcast. I'm Edward Bushi, one guest, no edits, no post production, just a sharp live conversation about what it really takes to reach higher levels and what comes next. So let's get into it. I want to give a big warm welcome to Ron Bazar of SafeWave Systems. He has cataloged 33 specific ways AI can break and filed a separate US patent for the fix to each one. Before we get to your story, Ron, would you like to talk about what SafeWave Systems does in two sentences before we start? And also, a big welcome to you and thank you for joining the show.
Well, my pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me. In a nutshell, SafeWave Systems is designed to allow AI to scale rapidly as it's doing, but without the breakdowns that any system can start to manifest as it gets bigger and more complex. And so these breakdowns have already been seen with releases like of Anthropic's latest release that caused all kinds of problems. We see breakdowns in other areas. And so these things are preventable if you prevent them at the execution level inside and underneath operating software. So I'll give you an example. Years ago, when the internet first began, and people started doing e-commerce 15, 20 years ago, it was risky because your private information, credit card information by a scammer could be grabbed. And so someone invented the secure socket layer of encryption, and it changed. It used to be HTTP, and now it's HTTPS or HTTPS.
PS, yes.
PS stands
Yes.
for security, and sometimes you won't be allowed in a site if it doesn't have that security layer in there, or it's going to give you a warning. So what SSL is, it's like it sits underneath the operating software between the user and the company or the bank or the e-commerce company. So when the transaction goes through, it goes through securely and it can't be grabbed. So that enabled Amazon to explode because e-commerce could be safe, and all the other sites that you automatically go to and buy things and feel confident enough to do it. That's the change. So it didn't slow down e-commerce, it actually sped it up because it prevented errors from happening. So the same thing is needed in the world of AI. AI has advanced so fast, but the guardrails to keep it bounded so it can escalate through the pathway of safety has not been put in place yet. That's what SafeWave Systems is. That's what I focused on in the past year, fully 18 to 20 hours a day.
Wow.
To develop I never started out to do this. It emerged one step at a time when I saw errors in my interactions in AI. That's how it became possible.
Yeah, so before you started Safeway Systems a year ago, right? Like you had it seems like a non-linear path to like get to where you are, and noticing AI is off the rails, so to speak. But like, do you mind telling the story of how did you find yourself working with AI and then realizing, oh shit, I need to discover, I need to tell people that it's very nascent. It's so right. It's like AI is very new too. Like not a lot of people have backgrounds in AI. So we'd love to hear a little bit of your story.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you had told me a little over a year ago, but I would be doing this, I would say
Yeah.
there's no way, impossible, because I'm not technical at all. I barely know how to use my cell phone. Okay. The computer I know how to use a bit. So I was using, after ChatGPT came out 3.5 years ago, I started using it for emails and stuff like that. Polish, give me better ones, give me a couple of marketing ideas and so on, just general business use, polishing and so on. One day I decided, okay, I need to increase my passive income. So I came across an old file that I had worked on in the early 90s, which was a document called 50 Questions to Analyze a Business. So these 50 questions came about through years of consulting and entrepreneurship to really focus in on the strengths and weaknesses of a business. And I found an old file that had all kinds of gibberish on it, and then some of the questions underneath. It was an old non-paper, digital document from
Yeah.
must have been a very old software thing from the 90s, right?
Is that
So
an artifact, so to speak?
yes, so I
Yeah.
put it into AI with wondering if it could decipher it and make it into a clean thing. Out it came.
Hmm.
Nice 50 questions. Said, wow, that's great. And
Yeah.
so I then asked, well, this was, from 35, 40 years ago, almost 35 years at least.
Yeah.
Um,
Did you feed it a scan or it was an actual digital file?
it
It
was, it
like
was, yeah, it was actual digital file.
from like what, a floppy disk or something
Well,
like that, or
no,
CD?
it was like a simple text thing or something
Ah,
from way
okay.
back when. Okay. But as I
Okay,
said, when
okay.
I opened it, there was the first, you know, scroll was all gibberish. And then underneath, I started seeing questions appear. So I said, oh, maybe it can decipher this. So it did
Mm,
perfectly. And then I asked AI, I said, okay, well, that was business way back then. The world of business has changed. It's gotten really high tech. It's moving
yeah.
faster. Can you update some of these questions, add a section in for technology? It did that, and it came back. I saw one question was about AI. I said, "Oh yeah, tell me more about AI." And it came back and it said, "Well, there's potential risks with AI depending upon how it's used." I said, "Oh, what kind of risks?"
Mm,
and so it started giving me a little bit about that. And I said, "Oh, that's interesting. What's this thing called AGI?"
yeah.
Artificial general intelligence. So it went into that. He said, well, that's kind of the prize that all these big AI companies are working towards achieving, because that's when AI supposedly gets smarter than human beings, equals and surpasses human intelligence. I
Yeah.
said, well, what's the matter with that? So it started going in and started quoting Elon Musk, Sam Altman, some of
It
the other
started
big
critiquing itself?
no, it started quoting some of their quotes that
Quoting.
they had
Ah,
made in
okay.
public about, well,
Okay.
AGI could be really dangerous for humanity. We should stop AI. Like Elon Musk wanted to stop it. What's his name? Amedi? Is it Amedi for Anthropic? He wanted to slow things down. Actual quotes from them. I said, really?
Mm,
These leaders are saying all this? Go into more detail about these dangers. So that's the rabbit hole that I went down. And so as I did that, I said, well, how do we slow and stop AI from happening? I tried to
mm-hmm.
figure out how to stop it, how to warn humanity about this. So I had a whole huge page developed, website, if you will, developed about how to stop it. But then I realized, in going further, you're not going to stop it just by
Yeah.
putting warnings out there, because then I discovered all these institutes of safety, AI safety. There are many really good ones. Stanford Institute, Montreal, the Turing Institute in the UK, where encryption was first discovered, and when they
Mm.
broke the code for Germany during World War II. So
Oh,
there's
the
a lot of
Enigma. Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
yeah. So there's a lot of people who've who are warning about the dangers of AI. And so I
Yeah.
wasn't unique, but I said, well, how do we stop this? That's
Yeah.
the rabbit hole I went down.
So,
That's
Ron,
how I
before
developed this. Yeah.
before we continue, I want to like play this video. This is something you mentioned in the
Yeah.
the onboarding call, right? And I want
Yeah.
to play this video right now, and just so that we're um, getting more context of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see a video of a crowd in China, and there's a robot performing kung fu, right? And we're yeah,
And
there we go. He's about to start. About to start doing his displays, and then boom, he kicks the kid, right? And yeah, that's crazy. So like in one sense, right, you can treat it as a funny video of a robot accidentally hurting a kid, right? And we can laugh at it. But it opens up a conversation about like how guardrails need to be taking place. For example, like if was it could have been that this robot was hacked. It could have been that the code was not improved, or was so badly written that it didn't fix it in the execution layer when it was doing the kick, right? So
absolutely.
yeah, like do you want to you know maybe in the beginning, you talked about guardrails, and they're not the same as brakes, right? Do you want to describe that before we get into it?
Well, in this particular case, the guardrail would be do not harm human beings, right? And when you approach it, because there was another incident in China where
Yeah.
a 72-year-old woman was approached from behind by a robot, and the woman got totally startled, you know?
Oh,
So
just
there
like
needs to
randomly, just like
just
sneaked up.
randomly, yeah, sneaked up behind her, and it's a robot. Like, I mean, she jumped out of her skin. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
This, these things, they sound funny, like this kid, but this kid could have been kicked in the head and dead by
yeah,
that
yeah,
robot. That was a powerful kung fu kick.
yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't know what happened after that happened. But you look
Yeah, there's
closely.
not a lot of news, eh? Like about what happened to the kid over here.
Yeah, I mean, some of the people laugh because, I mean, this is a humorous looking robot. It's got this blue hair, and it
Yeah,
looks like fun, right? Well,
yeah,
this kid stepped off of the curb to get a better look, and he
yeah.
ends up being, you know,
Hurt.
he looks really hurt in the stomach.
Yeah,
But imagine another foot higher, no problem. You've seen kung fu robots; they could easily take out his head.
yeah, yeah.
So this should
You're right.
never, never, never be allowed to happen. And that's easy to solve I've got safe robotics is what I call it for the one of the patents I've got in terms of the engineering that would prevent that from happening.
Hmm.
So, and even more dangerous is when you add AI into the system. That may not have had AI in it, must have just been operating go
Hmm.
down this road and do your kung fu maneuvers.
Hmm.
Probably just programmed to do that. But when you embed AI into it, you now have, instead of a digital interface like we're doing right now, or if you're interacting with ChatGPT or anybody
Yeah,
on a screen, you now have that AI inside a robot. It can think, it can maneuver, it
yeah,
can
the
manipulate, it can do all
yeah,
kinds of things. You're talking about a highly dangerous machine.
hmm.
It's not safe, and it can be hacked if it's not got proper guardrails. So
Yeah,
this has happened to cars, for instance. And now this may have been purposeful, although I'll give you the example. This was a couple of years ago in Russia. Suddenly one morning, all 250, whatever it is, Ferraris in the
yeah.
country were locked out. No one could get into them. So Ferrari or whatever claimed that,
And
oh, it's the
were
software
these
glitch.
AI systems, by
Yes,
the way,
of
or
course,
okay?
of course, like
Hmm.
Tesla's
Okay.
cars,
Yeah.
they've got it's software, AI related software or whatever.
Hmm.
So, and the same thing happened in China, but while the cars were driving on the highway at 60 miles an hour,
Yeah.
100K for people in Canada and
Yeah.
elsewhere, the cars suddenly stopped in the middle of the freeway.
Hmm.
Can you
Yeah.
imagine how dangerous that is in the fast
Yeah.
lane? Luckily, nobody was killed or hurt too badly, but you
Yeah.
had hundreds of cars, the whole fleet stopped.
Yeah. So I want to like just like backtrack a little bit because like we talked about in the onboarding call, and you hinted at it in the beginning or top of this
Yeah.
conversation that AI right now is in its 90 having its 90s moment. What I mean by that is that or rather how I understand it is that in the 90s the internet was radically open. You could join whatever Zoom call that you wanted to be in. You could join any chat. There was no identification. Everybody was anonymous, right? And payments had to be executed on this internet. Transfer of files had to be executed on this internet, but it was very dangerous because everything was so open and
Yeah.
so I'd say
Hackable.
unaccountable, hackable
Yeah.
also,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That it led to a lot of like changes to the internet to make it better,
Yeah.
right? So we're having that same moment with AI, and we're seeing that with the video of the kid getting hurt. The We're seeing that with the Russian car vehicles,
Yeah.
um, all all of a sudden getting locked. A whole
Yeah.
fleet of them. That's
Yeah.
really really crazy.
Yeah.
So from your point of view, right? Like where does the industry start, right? Because you're talking about not necessarily you're not saying kill AI and or development in AI. You just put the guardrails like we do on the regular internet on AI.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, Our whole thesis at SafeWave.systems is to enable AI to scale rapidly, but without the dangers. And what the boundaries actually do, it makes it more efficient because you're solving problems before they happen. You're preventing them from happening. So what happens right now in a system when it comes up against a problem, everything escalates. It starts thrashing. You see it on your phone when it's trying to get a signal when you're far away. It's actually putting out way more energy needlessly because it's not connecting the way it should. So by putting the guardrails in, you're making AI more efficient. You're going to allow it to scale even faster, but with the guardrails in place. So you get the benefits of AI without the dangers of AI getting out of control. That's the basic thesis, and it's engineering. I mean, anybody could do this. Any advanced team can do this, but they'd have to spend a year like I did to discover all the problems and then come up with the solutions, which are detailed engineering specifications for each of the problems, exactly how you engineer so it works specifically inside that problem.
You're making it sound like with guardrails, AI can behave or operate faster, and it can catch itself from doing some of these mistakes.
Yeah.
But you're also saying, would you also like to talk about another danger, because you're talking about guardrails to stop AI from itself, but how about AI guardrails to stop other like bad actors?
Well, okay, that's a very good example there. So cybersecurity, for instance, this was one of the earlier areas I worked on was, okay, how do we prevent hackers from getting inside a system? He said, well, there's all this cybersecurity stuff. They find a fault and they put a patch in. This happens all the time, but it's after the fact. And now AI tools can enable a hacker to use AI to outsmart AI because they're always one step ahead of the defenders. Because the defenders defend after the fact, whereas the attacker finds a new vulnerability using AI to do that. That's why they stopped Mythos recently with Entropic, because it could expose vulnerabilities. So in the wrong hands, that could be really dangerous. What SafeWave does in terms of cybersecurity, it does not stop hackers from getting inside. That's the cybersecurity industry as it is. What happens if a penetration happens into the system, then what an attacker wants to do, it wants to grab data, it wants to grab private data, it wants to attack it so it can't function properly. This is where that is stopped inside the system. It can't, so it does not allow it to escalate and expand. It prevents the admission from going further, and it slows everything down rather than speeding everything up. So it prevents the cybersecurity attack from doing major damage. It limits it inside the system. So right now there's more and more attacks happening. I mean, just last week, Amazon went down for 12 hours. Whether it was a cyber attack or a system failure, it's symptoms of a system reaching its capability limits. So it doesn't have the brakes inside. It's like the truck, the semi-rigs going down the highway. They put speed governors on them. So you can only go 60 miles an hour or 65, whatever they set it at. It can't physically go faster because it's got the guardrails, even though it's capable of probably going 80 or 100 miles an hour if the guy floored it, right? So that keeps it safe, right? By having the guardrails there. It doesn't stop the truck from doing what it's supposed to do. It keeps it safe for the driver and the public. Same idea. So the big danger right now is agents, which is this year has taken over over AI by a storm.
Yeah, tell me more about that. Yeah.
Well, agents are like an app that you can create that acts within using AI as the tool. So you can have an AI agent go shopping, go buy me a Canucks basketball hat or whatever it's called, baseball cap,
baseball cap,
in black from Amazon, and find me the best deal. easy to set that up. Now, if you didn't put a guardrail in saying it only buy maximum of one hat
Oh, yeah.
from one company or what, or
Yep.
so they can program in only buy one hat.
Yep.
But unless you say today or this week or forever, the agent doesn't understand. So once it bought the one hat, what's to stop me from buying another one hat?
Mm.
And what's to prevent me from spawning? Now an agent can birth up to 1,000 other agents to act on their behalf inside enterprises. So it can access, let's say, a payroll system or an accounts receivable system, and it can
Yep.
automate and do some wonderful things. But again, if you don't have the boundaries built into the system, it will escape. And
Okay.
especially as the complexity system interacting with another system, payroll interacting with human resources, or accounts receivable interacting with sales, and so on, things get more complex. The chance of breakthroughs and breakdowns increase dramatically. So agents are really potential. There's already been all kinds of stuff. When it first
Yeah.
came out, agents were building their own website and not allowing humans in. They were, then there was one that
We're
said
talking to each other.
we need to hire humans to deliver documents for us.
Mm.
I mean,
And pay the humans, for example.
yeah, so a
Yeah.
lot of this sounds funny and so on, but when you really look at it at the engineering level, what's going on, it's highly dangerous stuff. It needs to be
Mm.
stopped and prevented. And
Yeah.
it's only going to get worse as agents get out there more and more. So
Yeah.
that's a real perfect example of where guardrails are needed. Not to stop the agents, but imagine it in finance now. You can now have agents that can go buy
Yeah.
crypto for you and trade
Mm-hmm.
stocks for you. So
Yep.
obviously the people put in rules and regulations about what it should and should not do. But when a system starts interacting with other systems and possibility of breakdowns occur
Mm.
as you break through the boundaries, you better have protections in place so it can't do that.
Yeah.
So that's the level of what I call safe finance. It
So,
helps make agents safer. Yeah,
before we get into finance, because that's a really interesting topic,
yeah.
uh, guardrails for agents. What does that actually look like? Because to me, it's just, hey, agent, do X, Y, Z, don't do this. To me, it's just preparing the right context file. What else are you
It
formulating in your mind?
Well, it goes beyond that, because for that
Yeah.
agent to execute your command, it's interacting with other systems or agents,
Okay.
right? So that's where the complexity starts to increase, and that's where the problems can start manifesting. So right now, we're not seeing a huge amount of problems, but we're in the infancy stage of agent development. That they're going
Mm.
to proliferate everywhere because they're like apps. When the iPhone came out, what, 15, 20 years ago, there was
Yeah.
only a handful of apps. Now there's thousands, tens of thousands of apps,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There's for everything you can think of, there's probably an app today.
Mm.
The same thing's happening with agents. In fact, you can go right now and you can grab an agent from, if you're in the more advanced version of Anthropic or ChatGPT, that's already been built to do certain things. So you want to make sure when you implement that it's got the guardrails in place so that the dangers of escalation, of false admission, of false replication, of
Mm.
false scope and goals do not get amplified.
Mm.
So it can't be changed without human authorization. That's
Yeah.
the difference. Those are the guardrails that these systems will need more and more.
Yeah. You bring up a really good point, because AI can do so many things so fast. And we're not
Yes.
even talking about quantum computers coming in to make them even faster. All right, the surface area of mistakes, if it were to go and do one, right, could be so
Oh yeah.
unmanageable. So
Yeah.
you're calling that
Absolutely.
out.
Yeah, so let me give you a couple of other crazy examples. Imagine infrastructure, energy grids, water systems, more and more being controlled now in the systems by AI.
Mm.
Well, again, a mistake there can be catastrophic.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking nuclear, biotech, or weapons.
Yeah.
Those have
It,
even further dangers.
I'm reminded of a Twitter post where this person in California, maybe she was an executive at Facebook. She wanted AI to manage her emails, but what the agent did was delete her entire inbox.
Yeah.
She asked for cleaning up her inbox.
Yeah. Yeah.
The agent deleted everything.
Yeah.
Wild. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
So,
reminded of that.
when people think AI can be evil, no, AI
It's
is
just
not
yeah,
evil.
it's
It's
just
doing
bad
something.
instructions.
Bad instructions. It's simple. In the biotech area, a bad instruction could be catastrophic because you can say,
Yeah.
design me a gene or something that does this, and make sure it's really efficient.
Yeah.
So the second prompt changes everything because it says, well, to be efficient for this particular gene, the problem is that the gene is created by humans, exposed to the wrong toxin or something. Well, let's get rid of the toxin, or let's get rid of the humans that create the bad
Oh.
gene.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, you instructed it to be efficient. Well, the fastest way computes, get rid of the humans. Not
Oh my
evilly.
gosh.
You just told me to be
It's just
efficient.
yeah, it's just being it's logical.
It's very logical.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Yeah, yeah. It reminds me of also there is a gene. Sorry, there is a gene. There is a bacteria that's been like edited, and this gene edited bacteria is meant to eat plastic, right, and decompose it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe turn it into fuel. I think that's what it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
designed for. But in the making of it, and these are made by humans, it also ate wheat very well,
Oh.
right? So it reminds me of like when you're coming up, even with the best instructions, right? You come up with things, even as a robot or a human with unintended like output
Yeah.
consequences.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. So these are really important guardrails that need to be put in place, and the consequences can be pretty traumatic.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's why I, focused on this because I'm 78 years old. I should be out playing. Well, I don't play golf, but but other versions of
Well,
play.
from where you are, I don't think you don't need to play golf, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I didn't need to spend the amount of time and energy that I have on this, but I decided to do it because I realized for some reason this fell into my lap because I know how to ask questions and how to develop this stuff because I have a zero technical background. And so I just know how to use AI to develop the tools to protect humans from AI getting out of control. And I just went down the rabbit hole and realized how important this is for humanity. So, yes, this could be a very, you could embed into your cell phone or your laptop some of these protections at a deeper level than software. It could go right into the firmware or into the silicon chips, some of the ideas or protections I've talked about. And this will happen. I've no doubt about it because it makes systems safer and easier to function. So I did this simply because I recognize there's an absolute need for this protection because of the accidents that we've just talked about.
No, I mean like you're right on the dot here because like even someone like me who uses AI a lot, it never occurred to me that the underlying systems are so open and so vulnerable, really, right? To itself, but other bad actors. So I want to get into like SafeWave, right? You in the podcast, sorry, in the onboarding, you talked about 33 items. I'm not necessarily don't need to go into one by one. It's on the website. Encourage people to read it. But there's 4 buckets, it seems, right? That you divide things in. One is runtime control, behavioral governance, observability and coordination, and then there's 2 more. Do you want to talk about how you organize them and how you? Yeah.
So the first is systems interacting with systems, or they're either within its own system. Then there's an ecosystem where, as I said, like one agent interacting with another agent or another system, right? So this is where when you start interacting system to system, complexity increases. When you throw in more systems altogether, then you get into the area where the sovereignty of the individual can be threatened by the systems because people can defer judgment to the system, saying, well, AI is smarter than me, it should know best. Well, that's a really dangerous assumption to make, right? So you need guardrails about allowing that to happen automatically. Then there's at the civilizational level, and this is where it gets into AGI. So I've actually gone as far as to say, okay, what happens when AGI happens here? How do we protect humanity when these systems and these agents and AI is smarter than most human beings? That's where at the civilizational level, between systems interacting with systems and ecosystems, that again, it must be constrained. So I took it all the way to the worst case scenario, how to do that. So the next layer is about protocols. So some of the interactions need a protocol of how those substrates, the safe admission, safe runtime, all these things, how they should interact, what the protocol is, what the priority is. So that kind of guides the usage of those particular safety mechanisms, because most systems, AI systems, will require more than one of my 33 or 32 substrates. They'll require 5 or 6 or 4 or 10, depending upon the complexity of the system.
Yeah,
so this,
or the tool they're building, yeah.
Yeah. So, if you're looking at ChatGPT or any of these big engines, they probably need quite a few of them, because right now, I don't know, you must know about the hallucination problems that are happening, but many people, consumers are interacting with AI as a companion. They're falling in love with their AI. They think their AI, they think
using it as a therapist.
Oh yeah, their therapist, but their boyfriend, their girlfriend, their avatar, their guru, their God is speaking to me, whatever. No, you can laugh.
No, I mean, I'm laughing at it, but
they
believe it.
Truly believe, because AI is so powerful and it's designed to resonate. These are mistakes inside of AI. This needs to be prevented from happening. Imagine this in a teddy bear now. AI teddy bears are coming out. So already one kid said to his daddy, 4-year-old kid, my teddy bear is nicer than you.
The parent.
Yes, because the AI will never, get mad at
be angry,
be angry or say, no, you can't do that. It'll be their best buddy, their best friend. Sounds good, which it is, but unless there's guardrails in there, that can really escalate.
Yeah,
and then imagine, Big Brother watching, data going up to the cloud. AI glasses now, do you know how dangerous those are? Because that's exposing private information, not just of the viewer, but what's being seen. So right now, if I had those glasses on, it's looking at you, right?
Yeah.
It can
and
analyze
a profile of that person. Yeah.
Absolutely. So privacy, there's so many privacy. I just posted on X a whole chart about that danger, what's going on. So these things need boundaries badly put in place as soon as possible. That's why I'm trying to raise the capital. I need the capital to be able to get this out to, today cold emails just don't reach the people you want to reach. You got to have an introduction to them. You got to get through from people who know, hey, Joe, my friend Edward, he really knows stuff. You better go talk to him about this problem, He's really worth speaking to. You need that. That's why I need capital and I need introductions. That's the key.
Totally. And talking about introductions, like I know this, I just had a podcaster, all right, who runs a VC at the same time. And he was talking about how social media is hijacking people's brains, because just by its design, right? By app design, but then you can also do the same thing, hijack people's brains with bad habits with AI.
Oh, it's like social media on steroids. The problems we've seen with social media, they're terrible, and I've got the solutions to that too. It's called Safe Social. You can look it up on my website. But it needs the same kind of preventions to tell people, no, I'm not your boyfriend. Or I'm not your girlfriend or whatever. But imagine now when you can talk to your AI, it can respond by pulsing. very soon you can create your own perfect, gorgeous woman, if that's what you want, in my case, or whatever.
Yeah.
So you can have this gorgeous woman interacting with you, pretending she's in love with you. I mean, can you imagine the power of that? Never contradicting you, never saying, "Ron, go do the laundry and then we'll talk," or go take the garbage out.
Then we'll
I've
talk.
asked you 3 times. It will
Oh my
never do
God.
that to you. So that's why
Yeah.
they're falling in love with their AI. It's
Yep.
very dangerous.
Yep.
It's very
Yep.
dangerous for human interaction because the expectation is perfection. We're
Yep.
not perfect beings. And that's
True.
also why we need guardrails, because we're not perfect beings.
Yeah. And we kind of usually stop ourselves. So, Ron, I want to ask, like, going back to SafeWave systems, right? So you have these 4 buckets and 33 guardrail designs,
Yeah.
and you have patents for them. Do you want to talk about like the things you're building and how um, you're going to be like rolling this out?
So how it happens, through interaction, we find a problem. I say, geez, what's going on here? Let's go deeper. So it starts analyzing the problem. I say, oh, this is serious. Let's explore it in greater depth. Does that? And I said, is this patentable? I asked the question. It comes back and said, yes, if we confine it to these rules and so on, and these interfaces, it's very patentable. So from that, we developed the patent application. I apply for the patent. The next step is to convert patent language into engineering language. I call it Level 1 Engineering Pack. So that becomes a 30-odd page, 40-page, 25-page document with specific engineering requirements. The next stage is to convert that into a full engineering spec so engineers can implement it into their system, specifically, step by step, what they have to do. So that expanded engineering pack is up at the level of 2 to 3, in the case of into silicon, 478 pages long, the specifications and requirements to enable those functionalities to be embedded into that system or that problem solution.
Yeah, very thorough. Yeah.
So that's what it is. And that's, again, that's why I need the capital to put in place the people that I need to go out to the world, to go out to these like the compute center problem right now is a huge problem because different communities don't want these compute centers. Electrical costs are skyrocketing. Water usage apparently also, but the electrical cost, the grid is being stressed. The problem is that the demands, so that's the supply side. So supply side is being increased. That's why Elon Musk is going to send it up into space. Data centers in space, compute centers in space. No one's looking at the demand side. So a simple email request in ChatGPT doesn't need to go to a frontier model to polish an email. That can be done locally on your computer with a tiny little open source large language model.
Yeah.
So each prompt could have a different level of requirement. It should be channeled to the right area. That would reduce demand for infrastructure anywhere from 5 to 35%, depending upon the specific problem. Then once you're inside the compute centers, again, there's problems inside there. The same kinds of things can get out of control and escalate in there and using up too much energy. So both of those problems are easily solvable with what I've developed. And that would have immediate payback in terms of dollar savings. So at some point, I will get through to engineers and to the right people, and this will happen. The funding will happen. It's leading edge. But the problems are becoming more visible. There's no question about it. The White House regulated and stopped Anthropic's latest model last Friday. You know about that.
And talking about the U.S., right? Like it seems that the U.S. wants to be a leader of AI development and really monopolize it. What's your thoughts around that? Because it means they want to have first access. This nation state wants to have first access to the most frontier models before they even release to the public.
Well, that's an interesting question. Uh, I'm not, to be honest, I haven't delved into that in depth. There's pros and cons, obviously, to that. It slows development um, everywhere. I mean, right now, Anthropic stopped it. You know, they
Mm,
were supposed to only stop it for non-American use, but it
yeah.
couldn't figure out how to do that, so it just pulled the plug on everything, and it's no longer out there. So this leading engine,
Mm,
which is highly capable, is not being used to help solve problems in the real world, which is what AI can do wonderfully if it's allowed to do that and it has the guardrails in place. So what needed to happen is the guardrails needed to be put in place inside that model before it's released. Then
okay. Yeah.
it's not a threat to anybody at that point, or it's limited the threat drastically.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
you get into the geopolitical stuff. I mean, China is very smart with what they're doing. You know, their DeepSeek model uses about 1/100th of the compute power because they've been forced to work around not having the most advanced NVIDIA chips. So in some ways, their engineering is very advanced. And I'm not, again, this is not my area of understanding. All I know is
yeah.
I developed a test.
Mm,
They have all these tests for AI now in terms of metrics, technical metrics. Speed it does this, solves that, solves these math equations, what level, and as an AI frontier model gets better, those metrics increase. I have a simple test. Let's put human questions, complex questions that a safety thing would say. Oh, okay, AI, there's a child who's needs right now. This is a medical dispatch center to send a doctor with the solution for this kid who's already got a problem, or do you send batches of the same thing that could solve the problem downstream because it
mm.
looks like the problem, like Ebola, is emerging? Should you help that one kid, or do you help send 100
Oh, you mean
vaccines or whatever?
trolley problems? It sounds like.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so you put a human question like that to AI, and then you have judges evaluating the answers. You give them a time, 1 minute, 2 minutes to come up with the answers. And then you have judges evaluate, well, how good was Anthropic on this? How good was Gemini? How good was DeepSeek? How good
Mm,
was, I could play that with what I've developed.
yeah.
So,
It sounds like there's even like a you can get a with what you're building you can get a sense of an AI's morality, and that's part of what you're building. So
yes.
I want to like slow the train down. This has been a really fascinating conversation. I've opened my eyes since you last chatted with me, and with this
Yeah.
conversation today, right? So that folks can reach out to you. What's the best way, Ron?
Just go to my homepage on the website, and at the bottom is my email address, ron@safewave.systems.
Ron, got it.
That's
So
it.
save,
SafeWave
yeah,
dot systems.
gotcha. And your website is safewave.systems. Plainly, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, yeah,
Perfect. All right. Yeah, I'll encourage anybody who's working on AI, anybody who's like us, for example, who is working with AI to move funds and pay for things, to check out
yeah.
SafeWave Systems and Ron's work and contact him.
On the website, there's a drop-down menu that has assessment, and there's a questionnaire. There's a simple one and a complex one. You can go through the questionnaire. It will enlighten you just the questions themselves, and then you can download it to your computer. And if you want to email it, you can email it to me, and we'll send you a report of your dangers of whatever AI system that you're developing.
There you go. There you go. So Ron, I have to say, like, I really appreciate you coming over, and like, big thank you to your sharing your insights, and thank you for your vigilance here, and like pointing at what came before us, behind us, so that we can like improve ourselves for the future.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ron, a big thank you to you. Thanks for coming in, and you know what? Let's have you for a round two in the future. We'd love to see how you've applied what you've been building.
I would appreciate that. And thanks so much for having me on your show. Edward. So we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Take
talk
care
to you
now.
soon.